Ballots are being filled out, mailed, and counted. Next weekend, the Conservative Party of Canada will have a new leader. The winner will be announced at the party's leadership convention on Saturday. 5 candidates are vying for votes. The frontrunner, Pierre Poilievre, a former Conservative cabinet minister who's raised millions for his campaign and packed events. For a discussion about what happens next Saturday and what happens to the party after that, let's bring in 2 former Conservative cabinet ministers. In Vancouver, James Moore is a senior advisor at Dentons, and in Drumheller, Alberta, is Monte Solberg, CEO of New West Public Affairs. Great to see both of you. Monte, I want to start with you. Is next week a convention or a coronation?
Well, it's probably a coronation, to be quite honest. It's sort of Christmas for Conservatives. We do this about once a year. We get a new leader, and I think Pierre Poilievre looks like he's in great shape. You never know until the ballots are counted, but he brought in so many new members to the party. I'd say it's a coronation.
He sold, according to his campaign, James, 312,000 ballots. There were 678,000 in total. And it sounds like as of the party told us today, as of last night, they've had about 400,000 of those ballots returned. What do those numbers tell you about Poilievre's campaign and his chances of success next weekend?
Pierre Poilievre entered the campaign as the prohibitive frontrunner. He received all the scrutiny that a frontrunner gets, and he's going to come out of it likely the winner of this campaign. He's dominated the race in terms of the ground game. The membership numbers were overwhelming. It's nothing that we've ever seen before in Conservative politics or, frankly, Canadian politics. But also, he dominated the tone. I mean, you look on Twitter and social media on an almost daily basis, and Pierre Poilievre's name was trending, that he dominated the conversation by putting forward ideas with his tone, with his mastery of social media in a way that we've not seen in the Conservative movement before. And I think he's likely going to be rewarded on election night with probably an overwhelming victory. And he's energized the Conservative Party base in a way that I have not seen in a very long time. So I think it's going to be a pivotal moment in the Conservative movement. And I think a time for Conservatives to rally around a new leader as they move forward into the fall and through the rest of the year.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because for me, the next day is probably going to be one of the most interesting. Monte, Pierre Poilievre ran against, we said, there were 5 altogether, the candidates. One of particular note is Jean Charest, who was previously the Premier of Quebec. Many people watching tonight will, of course, be familiar with him. Many of his supporters have felt like they aren't necessarily inclined to support in any way Pierre Poilievre, and they've been kind of vocal about it throughout the leadership campaign. What does that mean for the Sunday and the Monday after the leadership announcement?
There's always wounds after a leadership race. People get behind their candidate and throw their time and money and belief into them. And so there's always these wounds, but, it will fall to Pierre Poilievre and his team to start to reach out to candidates, all the candidates, and, do whatever he can to build bridges, mend fences, and bring people in. This has to be a big tent party. The Conservative Party has to be a big tent party. Ultimately, we have to reach out beyond just, of course, Conservatives. But to begin with, we have to make sure we bring back in as many Conservatives as we can possibly do.
Does that mean, James, employing the kind of tried and true Stephen Harper method of uniting around the things that you can all agree on and trying to not talk about the stuff that you don't?
No question. Look, after Brian Mulroney won the leadership, there were people in Joe Clark's camp and in university who said that they would never get behind him. When Stephen Harper won the Conservative leadership, there were people around Belinda Stronach and others who said that they wouldn't get behind Stephen Harper. But he reached out. Both of those successful leaders reached out and built bridges and created a bigger political party that was continental in reach, that talked about the issues that are not of concern and obsession about sort of internal Conservative ideologues, but issues that are of concern to the public that can be reflected through Conservative solutions as a juxtaposition to the Liberal status quo. That's the challenge of the leader. That's Pierre's challenge, and I think he understands that. So if he becomes leader, it's to reach out within the Conservative Party, but then to face the public and to say, we're a Conservative Party. We have different solutions to today's problems, but don't misunderstand. We understand that government is about serving the public's interest, not about serving ideological interests, and we will do that through this united new party. I think that's his real challenge, and I think he's ready for it.
How soon, Monte, does he have to start delivering that message, as James points out, to a broader audience? So not just speaking to Conservatives, but Canadians writ large.
Well, he started doing it in my mind already. He started to produce videos and those kinds of things that speak to that larger audience, but really on on September 10th, the evening of September 10th, when presumably he'll win. He'll get a chance to deliver remarks. And I would think at that point he'll reach out through his remarks to the other candidates and then ultimately to Canadians and talk to them about the issues that matter to them, issues like inflation, issues like safe streets and secure borders, and issues like being a responsible ally and partner internationally and delivering, our international allies with the energy they need to be successful through a very cold European winter, for instance, as an example.
You're both conservatives, so I'm going to pause for a second and ask you to take off the partisan hat, because I've had a number of conversations over the last few weeks with people who say it's almost guaranteed, if and when Mr. Poilievre wins, that Justin Trudeau will want to run against him. What is Pierre Poilievre-led Conservative Party's greatest vulnerability, James, to the Liberals in a potential future election?
I think it's internal, not external, in the sense that the public is prepared to look at an alternative to the Liberals. They've had 3 mandates in a row now. They've been in government now for more than 7 years. And I think Canadians are prepared to entertain an alternative. For Conservatives, this is about presenting yourselves, looking like, talking like, acting like, sounding like, and presenting yourselves as people who are worthy of the trust of the country, to be in the seats of responsibility to govern a G7 country. So the challenge is really to level up as a party. It's not about moving left, moving right, or geographic challenges. It's about presenting yourself as a party that is worthy of governing the country, leveling up professionally, internally, and listening to Canadians and reflecting back to Canadians solutions to the concerns that are aggravating them in contemporary Canada. That's the challenge.
Okay, I've got to leave it there. Thank you very much, both of you, James Moore and Monte Solberg.
Thank you.